I was in the office and my son rang me and told me something strange happened in my room. When I came home and saw in my room my wife was in bed with another man. Hello guys. My name is Johan and my wife's name was Lucy. She cheated on me with another man, but she still has no regrets for what she did. And she is adamant that she did nothing, that she is innocent today. I'll share with you the most strange and worst incident of my life. If you like my story, please like my video and subscribe to the channel. I used to come from a good family. My parents was very kind to me, but I did not get my parents' love for many years because my parents died in my childhood when I was 10 years old. My father gave my responsibility to my uncle. He was very loyal with my father. I was raised by my uncle, but he was a bit strict. His strictness built up my career. Besides that, I was always longing for love because my uncle treated me as responsibility. But I always need parents' love. We were 2 sons of our parents. My younger brother was 3 years younger than me and I loved him the most. After completing my graduation, I took over my uncle's business. That was my father's business in real life. And my uncle just took care of it for me. I was very good at my work and was working with fun. My uncle had a beautiful daughter. Her name was Lucy. Later on, she became my wife. Me, Lucy and my brother was very good friends in childhood and used to play together. One day, my uncle expressed his desire to me that he wanted me to marry his daughter. I had previously considered his daughter only a good friend and had never felt any special attraction for her. I respected his wish so much that I agreed and said that I am ready to marry his daughter. But I wanted to ask Lucy if she wanted to marry me or not. So I called her over and asked her if she wanted to marry me or love someone else. I considered her as a good friend and wanted her to tell me the truth. After listening to me, she was silent for a while and was in deep thoughts, and I was waiting for her answer. She told me that she's ready to marry me and has no objection. But at the same time, she assured me that she does not love me at this time. But from her words, I realized that if she doesn't love this time, then she does not love anyone else. I was also not in love with her at this time, but marriage was being done only by uncle's request. But after that day, I started to like her. And I also felt like Lucy started to like me too, and a bond between us more than friendship. We started caring for each other and wanted both of us to marry each other. My uncle wanted both of us to get married as soon as possible. But these days, my younger brother had gone to study in another city and I wanted to get married in his presence when he came back because he was the only one in my family who was very dear to me. But it could not be done under any compulsion. And on the advice of my uncle, we got married. Soon after marriage, we started to live a beautiful life. Lucy's presence in my life changed my life very much and I started to feel like she's such a great blessing for me. She took great care of me because my parents died when I was a child and I could not find their love. But her love completed my life and the deprivations of my life are over. I had never got closer to any girl before her. She was the first girl in my life. Firstly, she made my life a bouquet of flowers and then ruined it after a month of marriage. When my brother came back home, he found out that I had married Lucy. He was very angry with me. He was very fond of me and was not present at my wedding. He was very angry with Lucy as well as me because he considered her a good friend. And she also did not tell him about our marriage. I tried to convince him but he did not agree and went back with his stuff. A year later, we had a very lovely son whom he named Leo. My younger brother loved his name and only for his love. I named my son this. When he found out that I have a son, he became very happy and returned home. He was returning home. After a year, I decorated my entire house and arranged a huge feast. After that, love like before was established between both of us. After marriage, life was very peaceful. I was spending most of the time with my family after the birth of my. So the responsibilities increased and the business is mostly being looked after by my younger brother because now his studies were also completed. I spent most of the time at home with my wife and children. Now my son was 6 years old, and with each passing day, he was growing up. It was very much understood. One day, the strangest incident of my life happened, which may have been better in my fever. One day, I went to my office. As usual, my wife prepared a very good breakfast. I sat down and had breakfast with my son and then went to the office. After 3 hours, I received my son's phone call, and my son seemed to be worried. His wife was shaking, and I could not understand what my son was trying to say to me from my son's voice. I could only hear that someone had come to my house. I immediately called my wife's phone, but she did not answer my call. Then I quickly went to my brother's office to take him home with me. Then I saw that my brother was not present in the office. When I asked his assistant, he told me that he had gone to another city for business meeting early this morning. And I asked him to attend this meeting 2 days ago. You must go to this meeting because I am not feeling well these days and also not paying special attention at my work. He went to this meeting just on my request. I was so worried when I heard my son's phone call that I needed my brother so badly that if he was with me, they would have gone home and solved the problem, because I felt like a burglar broke into my house and I could not even call the police because I wasn't sure. It was just my guess after hearing my son's chatter on his phone. I was very afraid to go to my house at that time because I was very worried about my wife and child. So I went to my house after a long time. When I got to my house, I saw my son terrified sitting on the couch in the living room. I went close to my son. He started crying and he saw a very terrible thing. I asked my son where his mother. So he pointed towards my room, or as I was moving towards my room, I heard a strange noise coming from my room. As soon as I went near the room or opened the door, I became shocked. The ground came out from under my feet. I saw that my wife was laying on her bed with another man and both of them had no clothes on their bodies. She started crying and ran and hugged me. I separated my wife from myself and jerked her back. The other man was laying upside down on my bed. I could not see his face and he was lying so unconscious that he did not even know I was in the room. When I approached him, he removed the veil from his face. I saw that he was my younger brother. See this, I was so shocked that my eyes got cheery and my heart hurt so much due to anxiety that I fell down unconscious when I regained consciousness. After a few hours in the hospital, my wife was standing near to me. Her presence seemed to me worse than the fire of the hell. It was disgusted for me. I tried to get up, so my wife tried to support me, but I pushed her back and returned to my house. I come back home and go to my study room where I go when I have work to do or I'm worried. My wife knew this habit very well and she came home. She came to the study room, she came near to me and held my feet and started crying and remained silent for some time because I did not have the courage to ask her the reason for anything, because the person with whom she cheated me was none other than my own brother. He was very fond of me and I loved him very much. But at that time, I hated both of them very much. After some time, I asked him the reason for living to cheat me. Well, I said, how long have you been going around with my brother behind my back? Don't you feel ashamed if you don't love me? Why did you marry me? We have a very dear son. How can you do this in his presence? My wife listened to all my words silently and while crying said only one thing, that she's innocent. She did not cheat on me. Then my wife told me that my brother came home in a state of darkness. As soon as he entered the house, he picked me up and took me to the room and tried to force me. He was trying to do this all until he fainted and fell on the bed because he was in a state of heavy intoxication. Meanwhile, my wife used to wear some clothes on her body. So I opened the door and found her naked in the bed, thinking that maybe she was cheating on me. On the one hand, I thought my wife's story was true because I know very well that my brother is completely unconscious when he's drunk. But on the other hand, it looks false because the clothes I saw of my wife in the room was the nightdress that she had worn at night when she spent time with me. But in the morning when I was going to office, my wife was wearing some other clothes. It can be inferred that my wife was wearing a night dress to spend time with my brother on her own wish. But another thing was bothering me, that my brother came to my house in a state of drunkenness. So it means he must have come to my house before, and all these things that both of them will be doing behind me before. So I checked the recording in the camera at the main gate of my house, and my was right. My brother used to come to our house many times in the absence. And these two used to spend time with each other behind my back. They were deceiving me. After that, I called my brother and invited him to my house. After a few hours, my brother came to my house. I asked my brother to know how long you have been cheating on me like this. My brother flatly denied and said, "We have never cheated on you. This happened only for the first time between us because I was drunk and I did not understand anything what was going on." But I did not believe them at all because I checked the recording with my own eyes. But it could be my misunderstanding, because in the recording only it was found that my brother used to come to my house in my absence. But I still had no proof that these two have been cheating on me for a long time. I threw my wife and brother out of my house in great anger. Then I went to my uncle's house and narrated all the incidents, on which my uncle told me that my younger brother loved my wife before marriage. In some way, my wife also had some feelings from a brother in her heart. One day, my uncle saw that my wife and my brother were spending time with each other and they had kissed each other. See this, my uncle was very upset because he wanted his daughter to marry me, and I was very sensible from the beginning and was running my business, very successful. While my younger brother was still quiet, young and careless. At that time, my uncle tricked my wife into marrying me and also asked me to marry his daughter. And in that haste, my uncle got me married in my brother's absence. I became very angry with my uncle because he ruined 3 lives. At that time, one of my own daughter and my own younger brother, just in his greed. After quarreling with my uncle, when I returned home, my wife was present in my house. While I had thrown her out of my house, I saw my wife. She was sitting on the sofa and waiting for me. As soon as I came, I started shouting at her and started pushing her out of the house on this. My wife told me to listen to me. I want to say something in my sanity. Then I will accept your decision. I agreed to listen to her. My wife told me that before marriage, my brother loved my wife also liked him but did not love him. Then when my uncle asked her to marry, she agreed to marry me on the request of her father. Because at that time, a younger brother had gone to another city for his studies and they were not in any relationship. Then she told me that when my brother came back home after the birth of my son, he started liking my wife again and repeatedly came to my house to seduce my wife so that she left me and married him, on which my wife denied him every time. And that day, in state of extreme anger and drunk, he wanted to have intimacy with her to vent his anger. But this was the story that my wife told me when I wanted to ask my brother about it. He denied me and said there is nothing like that. He was only drunk that day and he was unconscious. So he came to my house and started doing all this with my wife. My brother did not blame my wife for anything, while my wife was blaming my brother for everything. I have not received the answer till today. Today, 2 years have passed since this incident. I still haven't divorced my wife. She lives in her father's house. At this time, I hate my brother and my wife a lot. I still have not found answers to my questions, and many questions are running through my mind and I'm worried all the time. My wife is still adamant about the same thing, that she's innocent and she has not done anything. And that is the reason why, since I cannot divorce her, I want her to admit her mistake. And after that divorce her, because I don't want to regret anything after this.